going to any training or school institution, that component, and we have Ms. Farah Blake, who is here, and she is primarily responsible for that component to help to put you in jobs, put you in institutions, to help you to continue your education, or to give you work skills, to help to develop your work skills. So in our ministry, we have persons who have been placed through Hope for on-the-job training, and we call them interns. We give them an allowance. So they are taught good work ethics, how to come to work on time, how to relate with each other in the workplace, how to work efficiently, and how to conduct themselves on the job. So those of you who are here and are interested, you may want to speak afterwards with Ms. Blake, and she will guide you in terms of how you may get involved in that program. For the housing component now, we have a program where each member of parliament is entitled to 5 units per year, whether it's a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom unit. And what you get is dependent on your needs, on the needs of the individual. So it's not set to say everybody has to get a 1 or everybody has to get a 2 or 3-bedroom. It is what, when they come and they investigate. So the member of parliament, and in this case, your member of parliament is here, he would have recommended to the Hope Secretariat construction of a house for an individual who the community at large would see and know that this person has a genuine need. It is really meant for people who are less fortunate and are living in conditions that you and I don't like. No matter how humble ours are, theirs worse than ours, right? And so they make the recommendation. Persons from the Hope Secretariat, you would have seen some of them, they would come out, they would interview members of the community. We do that too, to make sure that we are speaking with the right persons who live where they say they live. We interview the recommended beneficiary, and we prepare the technical officers. Some of them are here. I saw Barry earlier. And they prepare the documents. We go to procurement. Then it goes to the oversight committee. That's the final committee it would go to with all the reports, with the recommendations. So it's the officers, when they come out and do what we call the social inquiry, they recommend whether this person is a single person, is an aged person. They're recommending a 1-bedroom, or they're recommending a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, whatever the family situation is. And the oversight committee is comprised of persons from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, HART and STA, NHT, and SDC, and some other agencies. The reason we have HART and labor and social security, some of them may need assistance. We try to catch everybody within the social net. So some of them may need to be helped to get onto the PATH program. They get the information at that committee. Or HART would look at the applications, look at the family structure, and may say, we have some young persons here as part of the family. We need to reach out to them. So we're very, very deliberate and strategic in terms of who we put on the committee, because we want to ensure that we not only address the housing needs, but the other social needs of the family which we are relating to in this regard. The other type of houses that we provide are for those who are living in big yards, what we call big yards, tenement yard, several families living together. And so we will go in based on the recommendation from the MP, the same process, and we will build units to accommodate more than one family. And the first such one we built was in Anoto Bay in St. Mary, where we built three-bedroom houses on one plot of land, because on that unit, multi-families lived there, several families lived there, and the conditions were not suitable. So we look at that. And the third type is that we try to relocate persons as best as possible. Persons who live on gully banks, and you know what it is, you have a little flooding. You would have heard about incidences in Hope River all over the place. Once we have flooding, families are washed away. Gully may collapse. So we try to capture those too. We try to ensure that we build houses to relocate them. So far, we would have gone to every parish in terms of providing solutions for families. We have been doing it alone in the ministry. And earlier this year, the Prime Minister invited the private sector to come on board. The more the merrier. Come on board to help the government in expanding the program. And we are very happy today that we have ARC Limited, Properties Limited, yes. They responded to the invitation of the Prime Minister. And they came and they said that they wanted to be a part of this program. We have started with a memorandum of understanding where they say, well, we will do this, the ministry will do that. So it is a partnership. And out of this is the first unit that is being built. You'll hear some more when Mr. Horn speaks. You'll get more detail about what else he plans to do with us in the ministry. And I know that the Prime Minister is going to say that he's inviting other private sector entities to come on board to help us. We are now in the process of expanding the program, and you will hear more about that as time progresses. But early next year, you should see a big expansion of the program that we can respond more quickly, or quicker rather, to the needs of the thousands of Jamaicans out there who need this kind of intervention. We ask the beneficiaries, and PM would say it, that you take care of the unit, and I know you will. And we will not only just build, but we'll be there with you to hold your hand to ensure that you are settled in and you're maintaining the unit as we ought to. We will be signing with her an agreement because we have to outline the responsibility of the beneficiary. The beneficiary has to honor certain responsibilities. We as a ministry, we have certain obligations as well. We're not just going to leave you here. Later on in the ceremony, we'll be having a signing, right? And so we will be there with you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, PS, for providing such an excellent and thorough overview of the program. And it's a pleasure to be guided by you, and we continue to work and fulfill the mandate of this program. In February 2022, the Prime Minister signaled the government's intention to scale up the program and a number of units to be constructed under the new social housing program, and invited the private sector to partner with the government of Jamaica in this regard. Subsequently, ARC Properties Limited indicated its willingness to partner with the government in the construction of indigent housing. Through the discussion with the PS, the ministry, the company proposed to construct units at no cost to the government, to construct the first 2 units in keeping with the NSHP's design, and to utilize alternate designs to construct housing units going forward, and in this case, this unit was constructed using precast. It is noted that the beneficiaries for the housing units were determined by using a new social housing established existing approved pool of applicants. The partnership with Arc Properties Limited was formalized through a memorandum of understanding, which has a 2-year duration. The objective of the MOU included to identify the roles and obligations of the parties in funding and implementation of the construction of housing units, and to provide a framework for collaborating with the parties to promote harmonious and efficient implementation of the construction of the housing unit. So today, to bring remarks on behalf of ARC, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and help me to welcome the chairman, Mr. Norman Horn.
Moderator for this program, this amazing program, Mr. Cargill, Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Holness, and Member of Parliament for this constituency. We heard from Honorable Audrey Sewell, who gave us a complete overview of the program. We have with us Team ARC, my wife Ashley and my sister Ann, who are sitting up front, the beneficiary, Sidani, members of the media, members of the security forces, other very important persons. In fact, all other persons are very important persons. A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. We're here today because of our participation in this project. And many persons may ask, why? Why did we decide to participate? And I'd like to answer that question for you because it is part of our business philosophy. Our mission statement is very simple. We strive for a strong correlationship between economic prosperity and improved social conditions for contemporary Jamaican society. That's our mission statement. That is why we are in business. Simply put, we want to make money. We want to make profits. That's why we work hard. That's why we run our business. But we also want to give back some of that profit to persons who are in need and in need of help. And over the years, God has blessed us in a way that we can earn and we can give back. And today we're here to give back part of the profits that we made in 2021-22. Let me be very clear. We had a very good year. We had a good year because of COVID. We have a good year because of supply chain issues. We have a good year because demand for building materials increased. We have a good year because rent for properties increased. And today we can share that good year with Sydney. And we're more than happy to do that. The real question is, why as a business did we develop this mission? Mission to earn and mission to give away or give back some of what we earn. In fact, to the same people that we're earning from. Well, it's very simple. I'm a country boy. I'm from St. Elizabeth. I'm from a family of 10 children. we grew up in an agricultural community. We're poor people. That's where I started. And we understand that we of African descendants, we Jamaicans, who make up 97% of this population, that our parents had little or no inheritance to pass on to us. And therefore, coming through slavery, coming through the colonial era, and coming into self-government, our foreparents, in the extreme majority, had little or nothing by way of inheritance to pass on to us. And our advocation is to encourage persons to work, to save, not to consume and spend all of what you have earned, but to be able to have some level of inheritance to pass on to your children, to ensure that they are better off at start than we were. And as a business, we focus a lot on what we earn and how much we give back. We're not politicians. Let me be very clear about that. We're business people. We trade, and we manufacture, and we sell. And in business, it's about making a profit. Now, obviously, as the ambassador for ARC and the ARC group, I have to do some campaigning myself. I have to share with you that we're a manufacturer and distributor of building materials, that we do everything building materials. So when you look to buy building materials, I wish for you to look to ARC Manufacturing. We are property management and development. So when you look to rent commercial space, we wish for you to look to ARC Manufacturing. That's the nature of our business. We do some other stuff, but that's not so important today. What's important today is that ARC is striving to earn and to share that earnings with persons who are less fortunate than we are. You cannot begin to imagine how satisfying it is for us at ARC Manufacturing. And we have been doing this on ARC properties, and we have been doing this for a number of years. And we never thought about having this amazing setup with all these great people who are here and all this media, and to tell Jamaica about what we're doing. We never felt that there was a need for persons other than us who are giving back and those who are receiving to understand the nature of what we do. Today is the first time we're taking this big, not only to who are here today, but to say to Jamaica, this is our philosophy, and this is our way of life, and we're giving back. Next year, of course, we will be apportioning our earnings this year and give away a part of it next year. And each year, with God's blessing, we'll continue to do this. The structure as to how we do our own rationale and how we make the contributions comes in different forms. One form, for example, is that persons who work with us, employees of the company, and employees who have children or child in school between age 14 and 18 in the secondary system, that we strive to ensure that that child has at least 2 weeks of holiday work at our company. And you wouldn't begin to imagine the joy that comes from that child earning a paycheck for $30,000 for 2 weeks, and their decision as to how they'll spend it. Some say, I'm going to buy a pair of shoes. Many persons want to buy phone and phone cards, by the way. digital technology. Others say, I'll give it to my parents. My mom need this or my dad need that. But that's another way in which we advocate and advance our social program. We don't want to be a business that just focuses on money and harvesting equity and building capital for shareholders only. We want to be a business that focuses on the social good. A business that helps Jamaica in a very small way to grow and to develop. Real development of any country is based on the investment in the people and investment in the infrastructure. That is real development. I'm happy to see that the Prime Minister has taken on this, and team has taken on this initiative through the Ministry of Economic Growth to try and improve the housing stock of Jamaica, to improve the housing stock of persons who are in need of housing. And today, when you look behind me and you look at the chart as to where Sedani is coming from and where she is today, I say God bless her, and let's all give her a round of applause for her benefit. This is not an exclusive ARC program. This is a program for any company, any business, any private sector person in Jamaica to participate and help persons who are in need through social housing. So, Honorable Audrey Sewell, let me join your appeal to say to Jamaica and to say to companies across Jamaica and those in the diaspora, participate in this program. It's a most deserving program, and your investment in this program will be well spent. Sedani, I sincerely hope that with this benefit, with this gift, that over the years to come, that you treat with it. So your personal investment in this will grow the value of your property and provide for you a kind of security that has value, that is tradable, that you can go to the bank and borrow on if necessary. And it will continue to improve. Because, Sedani, many of us in our country don't have titles to land. Many of us don't own homes. Many of us don't have this kind of security. In fact, I heard that when we realized self-government at independence, there was about 7,000 titles in Jamaica. And of those titles, less than 2% of us black people had ownership of those titles. So I am proud and extremely grateful to participate in ensuring that more Jamaicans who make up the 97% can have a title, an asset to their home that they can now become bankable. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Today's a great day.
Mr. Orn, I thank you for your remarks, and I know you want to construct about 10 more in St. Elizabeth where you're from. But as you would know, we and the Prime Minister and the PS always say we have a very rigorous verification process. So we are still going through it, and we probably can top it off with another 15, seeing that we have delayed you a bit. So we'll be speaking with Ashley come January morning about those 15 in your hometown. So you'll be contributing to 15 family, and this now, of course, in fact, Prime Minister, if I may say, NHT has requested a meeting PS through us to see how they can use our model and because they want to know how we get our prices as low as possible. In fact, I tell them Prime Minister still wants it to be lower. And so they have even contacted ARC. So you're getting business, you're getting back from your investment, Mr. Orn. And also, I must tell you that even people in Trinidad are familiar with the program, because the minister was here recently to try to duplicate or replicate our program. So maybe Trinidad can be another trading partner for ARC as well. They are. So, in keeping with the mandate of the program, the Prime Minister and the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew West Central recommended Ms. Eldemeyer for the construction of a housing unit. Having received the recommendation, we carried out our assessment and submitted our findings to the new Social Housing Programs Project Oversight Committee, chaired by Mrs. Judith Rob-Walters. And Prime Minister, I must tell you that we had to dot all I's, cross all T's. We had to prove that she is deserving of it. We had to ensure that we had a letter from Justice of the Peace. There was a pastor's recommendation, not because it came from you, as the Prime Minister and Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation. The verification process was very robust. And in your speech, I know you will probably go ahead and tell why she's deserving, and we can see where she's coming from, Prime Minister. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and help me to welcome the most honorable and jewelness Prime Minister, Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and Member of Parliament, to bring the main remarks.
Thank you very much, Richard. Let me say how pleased I am to be able to hand over this house, and how pleased I am to be with my family in West Central, St. Andrew. They will be the first to tell you that they don't get to see me as often as they would like. But they know that I'm always working in their behalf. They are always my priority, and they have lent me to the country. Right? The only reason why I am here as Prime Minister is because the people of this constituency took me in, protected me, and encouraged me. They stuck with me, and I believe that I am delivering on the investment that they have made in me. So now, if you look at this road in the constituency, you will notice that it is a fairly well-paved road. You will also note that if you were to walk up and down the street, you would see that the people here are very ambitious, hard-working people. You will notice that there are several construction projects going on, incrementally so. Putting on a room, they are going upstairs, they are putting on the fence. It is a signal that the people here want better. When I came here 25 years ago, the road couldn't be described as you're describing it now. We have engaged in a program in this constituency of taking down the zinc fences because of the association people have with zinc fences. It is a means of transformation of the community. And so if you drive around, there are very few zinc fences remaining. But people have made their own private investment in improving their houses. So the housing stock is not as bad as it was in the past, and relative to other communities, it is improving. Nevertheless, when you walk along the road here, there may be another 2 or 3 homes that are in need of this kind of intervention, what we call social housing. What is social housing? Social housing is the use of government resources to upgrade the living conditions of those Jamaicans who are not able, they have no income, they are not working, they may be indigent, meaning that they are at a certain level where they could be described as being poor. They may be ill, they may be shut in, they may be elderly and retired. And the question would be, are those persons entitled to a minimum standard of habitation, of shelter? And the answer is yes. In other words, if we were to take Sidonie, who has a 13-year-old son, she has to treat with her 65-year-old father who is ill, and Sidonie herself is ill, and she's not employed. Forgive me, Sidonie, for making public your circumstances. But I did ask your permission before. Shouldn't Sidonie get a house like this? And it is important that the community feels that way. The social housing only works if the taxpayers, all the people here who are clapping, you pay your GCT and your property tax and all the other taxes, you agree that someone in Sidonie's condition should get a minimum standard of housing. You would want it too, but you agree that Sidonie's situation is worse than yours. And that is the social contract of the society. It's very important that we understand that it is a part of our social contract, what we all agree to. Now, the government is the arbiter, the determiner of how that social contract is fulfilled. And we have designed a program where we have allocated from the budget, I believe we had 500 million Jamaican dollars. Now, 500 million Jamaican dollars may sound like a lot, but it is not really. We have asked the NHT to make a contribution to the process, and we are in the next budget seeking to increase the budgetary allocation. We're going to try and double it to $1 billion. It's not a lot still, but it is a good start in fulfilling this social contract. Now we estimate, we don't have good data, but we estimate, based upon the applications that have come into the office, that there are about 6,000 households in Jamaica that would qualify for this kind of intervention. Now, can you imagine if the government were able to improve the living condition of 6,000 Sidonies, how the quality of life in the country, so you would be taking the very poor, the worst off, and immediately lifting them up. It would immediately lift everyone in the society. And that is the objective. How are we going to do this? It's not something that we can do with the snap of a finger. It took, from the time that I made the appeal in February of this year, I made an appeal to the private sector to come on board and assist. So far, one private sector entity, Arc Properties, have come on board. And this is the result of it. The PBCJ, that is the private sector organization of Jamaica, they have endorsed it. and I have other people in the private sector looking on to see whether or not it can work, and I'll come back to that point later on. But from the time we have made the appeal to now, it has gone through an incredibly long process. We have had to come to agreement as to what will be the nature of the contribution. Then we have to go through procurement. Then we had to settle on design, and I'm going to speak a little bit about design. This is one of our precast system. I'm going to speak about that a little later in my presentation. And then it had to be constructed. Thankfully, the construction period is the shortest time period in everything that has to be done. 28 days to put everything together. But all the other processes take an extraordinary long period. Now, what the government is working on is to figure out how to do this at scale, meaning how do we move from building 20 of these to building 100 of these per month. That's what we want to do. And I see Richard and the permanent secretary just scratching their heads, because believe me, we have moved from doing one. Well, remember, we started like one every 3 months. Then we improved to one every month. And now yesterday, I did 5 houses. I handed over 5 houses. The week before, I did 7. And Friday coming, I'm going to be doing 7. So in this week alone, I would have given about, well, we're going to be giving about 12 houses within this week. So we have improved the process, right? Process has improved, but we're still not where we want to be. We want to be able to be turning out 100 of these if we're going to make the impact as quickly as possible. Because when you reduce it to the human suffering, Norman, then you begin to see the urgency of the situation. Sydney's situation was urgent, and everybody's situation that I have interacted with in terms of handing over the houses is urgent. And the question is, how do we get these processes of accountability that we have put in place to move apace with the urgency of the situation? Nobody wants to take any risk, Norman, that their name gets pulled before the Public Accounts Committee or false accusation is made against them for corruption. So everybody is being very cautious, crossing all the I's, dotting all the T's, because it could destroy the program. So we are balancing between trying to get this thing out for Sydney very quickly, get the house built and handed over to Sydney, but at the same time, keeping the public's trust in the process. And I want to speak a little bit about public trust in what we're doing. Now, it is important that the people in the constituency, on the road on which the house is being built, in the country, feel that this is not some project in which it is just being built for the purposes of giving the contractor money and the workman money, and whatever comes out in terms of a house, well, that's just it. No. When you look at this house, you can be certain that every dollar that was allocated for the house is right there, because you are seeing the quality of the construction and the finish. Nobody in the community can look at the house and say, you know, the contractor gone with half of the money. The mason gone with half of the money. When I came to this constituency, I was told a story of a wall that was constructed right beside the Olympic Garden Civic Center. And when that wall was being constructed, it was during those times when there was not much oversight and supervision of public works. And within a few weeks of the wall being constructed, I believe there was a heavy shower of rain and the wall collapsed. Upon investigation, it was found that no steel was put in the wall. And that what they did was, when the wall reached to the specific height, they stuffed paper in it and then threw some concrete at the top. This is not that project. This is not that project. Every dollar allocated to this project is right here. And we go through great lengths to ensure that this social housing program cannot be in any way ever compared with other attempts at social housing that have gone in the past. So the people who are on this road, the Jamaicans looking on at us, will appreciate the integrity of the project that we call the new social housing program. And we emphasize that because there is a sense where the private sector, private individuals, seem to have a fear, as we have heard expressed in other fora, in partnering with the government to deliver social benefits. And I'm saying that that fear is unfounded and unreasonable in the current circumstances. The government that I lead puts in place all the necessary mechanisms for accountability and transparency in these infrastructure projects. And this is something that we are big on, and I want to emphasize that. So for the private sector persons looking on who we are appealing to, who may have certain skepticisms about the processes, the only skepticism that you should have is that the project might take a little longer than you expect because of the rigor that we apply to accountability and transparency of these projects. And I'm certain that that is the experience that ARC would have, that there is no issue of any form of corruption, either in the works, in the materials, in the design, in the payments. Everything we do, we ensure that it can stand up to scrutiny. I believe that our processes are even stronger than the processes employed in the private sector. So I want to take this opportunity to encourage other private sector entities who may be interested, who may be looking on and saying this is a good project. Yes, it is a good project, and we are now at a point where we can engage you to ensure that your corporate social responsibility and your environmental governance and social obligations are fulfilled when you partner in this program. Having said that, allow me to express my deep and sincere gratitude to Norman and Ashley, and I'm just meeting your sister Norman for the first time, for your generous and thoughtful contribution to this project through your corporate entity, ARC Properties. Please give them a round of applause. Now, Norman would understand when I say that he missed his calling as a politician, because the speech he gave was very statesmanlike about why you're doing this. There is a notion, and I'm speaking now to my constituents who are gathered and listening. In our country, for many years, the notion has been cultivated that we mustn't trust our private sector, that we mustn't trust business, that business is about exploitation. Without question, there is that element. But I think we are entering into a new era of partnership between business and public enterprise, between business and citizens, because the enlightened business understands that you cannot maximize profit without ensuring that your environmental, your governance, and your social issues are addressed. And more businesses are putting in a line item in their budget, not just for advertising, not just for the PR, but because they are enlightened and they understand that for the business to grow, the people must also grow with it. ARC properties and ARC manufacturing can only make a profit if Sidonie has more money in her pocket to spend. If Sidonie's condition improves. And that is what this is about. So it's very heartening to hear you say, Norman, that you are sharing your profits. Enlightened self-interest. And I think more business people ought to come on board with projects like these. And I'm specifically asking for the support of the business community for the new social housing program. You mentioned, Norman, how powerful a program this is. This program will break intergenerational poverty. And again, I'm going to use Sidonie's example. And again, Sidonie, forgive me for making your affairs public. But Sidonie's father did not inherit an endowment for himself. Meaning that there was no legacy passed on to him. There was no house passed on to him. There was no title, no shares, no intellectual property passed on to him. And then he had Sidonie. What could he have passed on to Sidonie? And then Sidonie had her son. What is she going to pass on to her son? So the poverty is being handed down from generation to generation. Poverty has basically 3 dimensions to it. The first dimension is whether or not you have an asset. The second dimension is whether or not you have income. And the third dimension is whether or not you have access to amenities and social services. So clearly, Sidonie would be asset poor. She would be income poor. Whether or not she has access to social services, that depends on the level of development of the society. So even then, Sidonie might not be able to access all the services that she would need. There is a fourth element, and that is whether or not we have knowledge. What this program is doing is it is going to break the dimension of poverty which deals with assets. So Sidonie will get an asset, and that asset will give her access to some social services. She will now have housing. She will be able to take care of her father, the generation passing, and take care of her son, the generation coming, and she will be able to pass this asset from her to her son. And that is how we are going to be breaking the intergenerational poverty. But I want you to understand the magnitude of the problem. We need to be doing this 6,000 times over. So we need to increase the scale and the pace. Government can't do it alone. We need to have private sector intervention. Now, I want to say quickly about increasing the pace. As you walk along this stretch, you will notice that the preferred choice of construction materials and construction system is block and steel, concrete. And I know that if you were to say to people, you know, board looks so if you use wood, it would look so refreshing because there are some, you have so many options for design. But I know the people here would tell me, no way. Well, I heard, I've heard that as an excuse, termites. But look, there's lumber that hundreds of years. The science of treating lumber is so well advanced. And plus, ARC as a treatment plant that gives you the treated lumber. But the biggest concern that everybody has in the back of the mind but don't want to say is that, well, I hear you say fire, but even concrete houses are exposed, right? The biggest problem is the gunshot, where people in communities like where we are concerned about their safety. So security is one of the issues. Now, bear with me, Norman. If security were not an issue, the cost of housing would go down dramatically. Think of it. As you walk along here, almost every yard has a fence. And not just a low fence, a high fence. Every yard has a grill gate, a metal gate. And almost every door has a grill, including windows. So I want you to appreciate the point that I'm making, that the cost of housing is being driven up by the cost of security concerns. If we were able to bring down crime in the country, we would also bring down the cost of housing. So the people who live in these communities, it is in your interest to keep your community safe. It is. But the point, nevertheless, is that we know that our Jamaicans prefer the robustness and sturdiness of concrete because it can withstand hurricanes. The environmental conditions, that is also a part of the consideration. So we have, within the Ministry of Housing, we deployed last year a competition to come up with designs. And some of the designs are incorporated in what we are building now. But not just the architectural designs, but the engineering designs as well. So this house is one of two that we have constructed using precast panels that are transported to the site and assembled in place. And that has cut construction time significantly. It has also, I must say, cut the labor cost. And I've heard a word being used in the back, pilfering. Yes, that's the word I used. And that's the word you used as well, yes. In other words, the theft of material from the site. And it ensures a more uniformed construction and an easier finish. So it is a solution that we're going to pursue. But there are other solutions like that which may not necessarily use concrete. And we are going to be exploring those other building materials as well that could easily be deployed in Jamaica, including lumber. So we are open to using a variety of building materials to ensure that we can address this issue of providing social housing. So I want to therefore, in closing, summarize. First of all, I'm very pleased that the program is scaling up and increasing in the pace of delivery. By the close of this year, we should be up to about 150 houses being delivered. By the close of the financial year, we should be somewhere in the region of about 200 and 50 houses being delivered. And so the program is moving quite apace. We are streamlining our internal operations in terms of our systems of accountability, our systems of procurement and oversight, to ensure that that aspect, the administrative aspect of the program, is also moving quickly. We are satisfied that we are now deploying various modes of construction, and I want to acknowledge Kean Hines and his team at Kinetic, who have done an amazing job in not pioneering. Pioneering would be the pioneering for this program, but innovating the tilt-up system, because basically that's what it is. It's a cast-in-place transport and then tilting it up in terms of constructing the unit, which has increased the pace of delivery of the unit. I want to thank, on behalf of Sydney, the entire community of Tower Hill, and the entire Jamaica, I want to thank and publicly acknowledge Ark Properties and the principals, Norman and Ashley Horn, in making this bold step in partnering with the new social housing program to deliver this unit. And as I close, to say that Sydney, the government and people of Jamaica are giving you this house, but it is not free. You must take care of it. You must ensure that your child does not become a burden on the state or a threat to the state. You must ensure that you grow up your child using this house so that they become an asset to Jamaica, that they are not taking from Jamaica but giving to Jamaica, that they become upstanding citizens and leaders in their community. You are being given this house, and you must now become an example of hope and an example of good in your community. And we are all praying that the house will improve your situation and that of your family. So with those few words, I thank you for your patience. God bless you, and Merry Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think your Prime Minister and Member of Parliament deserves another round of applause. This is our 4th unit Prime Minister, and benefiting over 25 individuals. We have 2 tenement yard upgrade processing 4. In fact, we are doing finalizing the design now to go to tender January. And again, Prime Minister, thank you for your remarks. And at this time, I invite Ms. Eldemeyer, beneficiary and leader of the moment, to move the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I want to give the Prime Minister really appreciate this. It's been a rough year. But as the songwriter said, when God said yes, no man says no. Behalf of Ark, the Hope, Connecticut, all the workers, Omar, Amanda, Tammy, 2 Blacks, Kelvin, my baby, mother across the road, and my community. Who could it be but God?
Just thank God and come down. So from the Hark family, from the Hark family.
Honorable Andrew Holness. It's been grateful for you to look through it and sign to it. It could not be without you sign for it. And I appreciate it so much. I will keep it up with my community. They have my back. They will push me to do it, to keep it, to prove to you we are not just voting to get help. We are working to prove to the country you are doing your job. Behalf of Norman and Ashley, as you guys know it is from the heart. It is coming from. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. May God continue to bless your and work and pushing more help for people like me to benefit a house like that. It is so well appreciated. I don't have to go any further. You hear my spectators? It's you. As they would say, one bro God, always bro God. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. Have a great day.
We had accounted for this time. All right, we are most happy for you, Miss Eldemaya, and we are certain that you and your family will enjoy your new home donated by Ark Properties Limited and continue to be model citizens in your community, the parish, and country. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your attendance and participation here today. We have come to the end of this part of the program, and we will join the Prime Minister and the Member of Parliament, P.S. Sowell, Mr. Norman Orne, Miss Eldemaya, Mrs. Orne, Mrs. Eels, and PFO in the signing of the social contract and the ribbon cutting ceremony.